the Neon Confidential podcast.
Is this thing on? Kelley, welcome to the Neon Confidential podcast. I'm so glad that you took time out of your day. I know you guys are so busy right now. You're right in the middle of creating what everybody will soon know with Raeya. So before we dive into Raeya, the new women's wellness sanctuary that you're opening in November.
Yes.
Let's start with your journey to get to this point, because as far back as I can remember, you've always been a wellness influencer that a ton of women look up to.
Thank you.
But what was the journey to get to this version of Kelley, the successful mom, entrepreneur, and wellness advocate?
Well, first of all, thank you for the, uplift.
Yes.
That's great. And thanks for having me on, Megan. I really appreciate it. I am super excited to be here, and I'm really excited to be at this chapter in my life. Raeya has really been an idea in the back of my mind for probably like four years now. And it was just something I never acted on because it was too busy. And they always say, with manifestation, I don't know how much you're into that.
No, I am. It's the same way I got this building. It was like an idea that I had, and then it was just the little like kismet things that were happening. I was like, this was always the path.
Totally. And it was not until I was willing to take things off of my plate that I then had the space to manifest this, because for so many years I was so busy. And so to kind of go back, I had my first son in January of 2020. And during that whole year that I was pregnant with him, I was taking courses online to become a certified health coach, and then more courses to be like certified in hormones, because that was really my interest. And the reason that was my interest was because of all of the hormonal issues that I had gone through in my 20s. I was hormonally a wreck. I had basically burned my adrenals out to the point where it then started affecting my thyroid. And I didn't know any of that. I was just gaining a ton of weight and continuing to like exercise and diet and still not losing weight. And I had my hair falling out and moodiness, all the things. And then I lost my period. And ultimately, it was kind of that crossroads to where I was like going to see doctors, and the doctors were telling me like, just go on birth control. And I was like, but no, I want to get pregnant. Like, that's not the solution here to get a quote unquote period, because it's not really a period when you're on the birth control pill. It's just a withdrawal bleed. They will sell you on it like that. And so I started doing my own research and trying to figure out, how do I get my body like back into balance, and like, where did I really go wrong here? And for me, it was years of an eating disorder and lots of stress and being a perfectionist. And we don't really recognize that our environment and our lifestyle plays such a role in our hormones, and our hormones play such a role in how we feel day to day and the symptoms that we experience. And so once I figured all of that out, I'm like, okay, I need to help other people who I know are going through the same thing. And so at the time, my sister and I had a fashion kind of page that the two of us had co-created. It was called Wilson Gabrielle, but that just never really felt aligned to me. And so I just randomly would start sharing like, oh yeah, this is what I'm doing. This is the breakfast I'm having. This is the green juice I'm drinking. This is the workout I'm doing. And like my thyroid is so much better. Like, I'm on the lowest dose of medication I've ever been on it. And people really started responding. And that was super exciting for me. And at the same time, again, like talking about manifestation, my sister was like, I don't really like this anymore. I want to just like have a corporate job and not be on social media. And I'm like, great, I really want to do this. I'm going to make it a wellness page. And so that is how I created Wellness by Kelley. I got all the certifications that I needed to become a health coach. And I started coaching women back in 2020. And since then, with my membership and the one-on-one clients I had, I've been helping over 1,000 women, which has been really, really exciting in the last 5 years, balance their hormones and feel good in their bodies. But again, there's only one of me. And I'm sure as a business owner, you understand that.
It's like as much as you want to just clone yourself, it's like it's an interesting way to find balance, which we'll get into. But When you started training people, is it while you were pregnant with your son, or was it after you had him?
So I had him in January and I started taking clients in May. Um,
And how much of that was like, obviously you had already built an audience and you wanted to help other women, but was any of that for yourself? If you're keeping other people on track, isn't it easier to kind of keep yourself on track,
Oh,
especially like trying to lose the baby weight? And people connect with truth, you
totally.
know. And I think that was one of the things when you were talking, I was thinking like, isn't it funny when you're out of alignment? It's like, especially doing social media, there's so many people who that's their dream. Even like kids these days are like, I want to be an influencer. But then it's so easy to just copy all of these of the things that other people are doing. And it's just not going to click for you until you start being your true authentic self. And I think that's probably like everything you were saying. I was like, it sounds like you were out of alignment, got into alignment, and now look how many women you've been able to help.
Yeah, 100%. And the social media following was like never the thing for me, which is why, like, someone wrote me the other day. They're like, "Are you mad that you still don't have 100,000 followers?" I'm like, "No, I could care less about the
Why would someone say that? That's so strange.
I
But
could care less about that. It's about the people that I get to help." And that was the funny thing, was that like when it was out of alignment, we were doing fashion and all of that. It was like kind of hard to sell a pair of jeans. But then the moment that I switched over to wellness, it was like clients just like flying in the doors, to where again, like I didn't have the bandwidth as one person to handle it. And so that's how Raeya came to me. It was like, how can I bring other practitioners with other specialties all under one roof to help support me in supporting the people that I want to help? And that was how that came to mind.
so, what gap did you see in the wellness space
Mm.
that you wanted Rhea to fill? I think I already know the answer
Yeah.
because I was in your small focus group,
Yep.
and that's important for other people to know. It's not like this is an idea and you were like, this is how I think it should be. You were really listening to other people's feedback who are either in the space or not. So, what was the gap that you were like, I've seen this done before and I know I can do this better?
So Raeya is a women's only space, which was a really hard decision. That was actually something we asked you guys in the focus group. Like, how would that impact you? And would you like that? Would you not like that? And ultimately, we came to that decision because I think women feel safe in a women's only space and have the real ability to relax. And I think women, not to like, generalize or say anything bad about men, but we do a lot more. Sorry, but we do.
Me
We're,
too.
we're taking care of our house. We're taking care of if we have kids, if we're taking care of, a lot of times elderly family members. And then we've got our work. And for us, I think it comes down to efficiency for so many of us. That was the biggest gap that I noticed especially in Vegas. It's like, okay, I have to drive here for this appointment and then here for this appointment. And I'm spending all this time in the car when I could just be at one place and I can work out. I can have my like healthy breakfast. I can go get a facial, and an IV, and, have someone tell me about my lab work. And then I can go home and then I can either come back for another workout maybe that week, or like I can make it like this efficient use of time rather than driving to 6 places around the town.
So many people that I've obviously spoken to about Rhea, and I lead with this. I'm like, you can do your blood work there, and they're like, you could just stop there because I'm in, because that is the most annoying part. Like nobody wants to go sit in that lab. I won't say the name of it. And then there's like sick people who are in the waiting room, and it's like, what, like, why am I here, and why do I have to go all, just to send off lab work? So to me, that's just such an amazing component that you're also paying attention to hormones.
Yeah.
Because like you said, like that's, to me, that was your why, right? Like things were out of whack for you. But that's the case for so many women. And while you were talking, it was the same for me. Like my hair started falling out. The guy's bedside manner, the doctor that I went to, he was like, I found out I had alopecia areata because he looked at the back of my scalp, didn't say a word, opened up the door, and he hollered across the room and said to his nurse, you can add alopecia areata to that chart. Thanks. And then he turned and looked at me and was like, well, you've got alopecia. And I'm like, well, what can I do? And he's like, there's not really much you can do besides make major lifestyle changes. He's like, what do you do for work? I'm like, I'm a publicist. And he's like, yeah.
Stressful.
I'm like, okay, well, see you later. Like,
It's so crazy. It's like that part of it too, again, like we're talking about gaps here, like there's such a gap in the healthcare space, especially for women, because so much of the testing that they do out there is not for women. And so we're generalized into this bucket with men, but also then there's the piece that comes down to insurance. If you're going to a lab to get your blood work done, your doctor is typically the one ordering it for you, right? And you're sitting there in the waiting room, and then you get this blood work done, and then it's like not even comprehensive enough to give you the answers that you want to have. And so many of the women who have come to me over the last 5 years have been like, well, I went to my doctor and he told me everything's normal. And it's like, yeah, because he's not even looking at your hormones, or he's looking at, let's call it thyroid. Like he's looking at TSH and T4, but you have like a bunch of other thyroid hormones or antibodies or all of these other things that they're not even looking at. And then you're not getting a full picture. And then,
Like there's so many different blood panels that you can do. And that's what I think people don't know.
yep.
And the other thing I've heard, say you're doing a comprehensive blood panel, that you don't have to take like 17 vials of blood.
No, you don't. It's really dependent on, I think that that's what is really cool and unique about Raeya too, is that the blood work that we're going to order for you, the labs that we're going to do for you, we have these at-home kits that we can send with you. It's all dependent on what you come in and tell us what your symptoms are. We're not going to treat you like everybody's the same cookie cutter situation. We're going to really customize not just the lab work, but then also the solutions to you and what's going on with you, because everyone is so bio-individual. Everyone has, especially when you're going through things like perimenopause and menopause, then it comes down to like, what is your lifestyle and what are you doing? And are you a publicist who's like working, 60 plus hours a week, or are you, chilling on the couch? And like, we're going to have variable solutions for whatever it is that you're doing and your lifestyle. So,
And it probably makes it a little easier too that your memberships are capped at 250 memberships, which I feel like doctors' offices should probably be capped at. It's because that's what happens. You go in and you do feel like you're just a number. You're like, I just waited an hour to get in here because you're running behind because of all the other patients that you just saw.
Yeah.
So now you're spending 5 minutes with me. I didn't ask you all the questions I got to ask because you're just on to the next.
Yeah.
So that seems like you're able to provide that sort of care. I know that this is a good sticking point for you too, but I do know that, just from talking to you so much about Raeya, that it's going to be like everyone's going to know your name. They're going to know it's like very personalized care.
Yeah. And that's really important to me. And that's one of the pieces that will just be pulling from my practice that I had for so long. I mean, all the clients I saw there were on Zoom, but all the sessions that we had reading out lab work were an hour. And that's really like the minimum amount of time you need with someone to really carefully and thoughtfully explain what's going on in their body. 7 minutes covered by insurance is not going to give you the answers that you need, nor the solutions. And so really taking the time to make sure people understand, because when they have a better understanding, that's when they actually have the incentive and motivation to want to make change, versus being like, all right, we're going to give you this prescription and go home and it's not really going to help. And then you'll be back here in 3 months. That's frustrating.
And using yourself as like a guinea pig. You know what I mean? Like just to get stuff dialed in when it should be like, ask me the questions to dial all that stuff in and then get the help.
Yeah.
How has becoming a mom shifted your perspective on wellness and self-care?
That's a really great question. And I feel like it really did change things for me. I was, again, like on this health journey already when I got pregnant the first time. And getting pregnant the first time for me was really easy. But at that juncture, I was like, okay, I'm going to make everything in my life non-toxic, at least for the most part. I'm not like some crazy where I'm like, I can't ever go out to eat or anything like that. Like that's, I think, taking it a step too far. But like what I'm putting on my face every day, the cleaning products I'm using. So in that first pregnancy, it was really about becoming non-toxic, because I'm like, I don't want to pass any of these chemicals or endocrine disruptors on to my son. And so that was like the first big thing. And then the second time I got pregnant, it was actually really hard for us. It took over a year for us to get pregnant with my second son. And that was when I started to make even more changes. I was like, okay, I am going to see how life feels without alcohol. And, upon that, I made that choice in May of 2022, and we got pregnant 3 months later. And I'm not saying that that's why we got pregnant, but it's just been kind of a journey as I've had them to kind of make these changes and alterations in my life that would have a trickle down effect to them.
Well, I mean, and alcohol impacts everyone differently, like
Totally.
especially if you know about your blood work. And I did that from I can't remember. It was one panel that I did, and it said, or this one was 23andMe actually,
Mm.
and it said that I have a gene that makes it harder for my body to process
Yeah,
alcohol
same.
because I would get these gnarly hangovers, and I'm like, why? Like I drank the same amount as all my girlfriends. Why am I in bed for a full 24 hours, like debilitated, can't move? And it wasn't until same thing I removed it. And I was like, I feel great. Like, even just because my body can't expunge alcohol as quickly as other people.
Yep.
So I think everyone's journey is different. Like you said, it's like we're not doctors. We're not going to tell people what to do, but we can
Mhm.
only speak from experience. So it sounds like that helped. And then what are some of the cleaning products that you use? I want you
Mm.
to get granular if you can.
Yeah, we use a lot of Mrs. Myers in our house. We use a lot of
Is it Branch
Branch
Basics?
Basics. Yeah,
They're just the best.
they're the best. They're super clean. There's also this oh gosh, what's it called? But it's this company and they make like a fruit and vegetable wash and some cleaning products. And basically, it's all like super clean. And you just put a few pumps of this into like a big sink full of water, dump all your fruits and vegetables for the week from the farmer's market or whatever. It takes off like any pesticides, and then you just let it soak for like 5 minutes. I'll send it to you
Yeah, we'll put it
so
in the
you can
show
look at it.
notes too. But
Yeah.
like, what do you think is the benefit of doing that? Because
Mm.
I used to not wash my fruits and vegetables, and then I found out all of the reasons. So just share a few.
Yeah. I think that we put a lot of faith and trust into farmers and like even if they're saying, it's organic and we don't use those harsh chemicals or pesticides or whatever it is on the products, there's a lot of times where a farm that does is right next door and those harsh chemicals are blowing over in the wind and you are consuming them anyways. And so just being thoughtful and mindful about cleaning your produce and making sure that that stuff that you're putting in your body is as clean as possible. And it kind of comes down to like really thinking about focusing on real whole food too. We could have a whole separate conversation
Mm.
about the importance of that and what is coming in your packaged and processed foods between seed oils and chemicals and dyes and all that stuff. The more you can focus on real whole food that is organic, the better for your body, for your hormones.
What is like a quick snack that you would make, just like easily accessible? I mean, I see a lot of this stuff on your stories. I feel like I take a lot of that knowledge from there, but like, what are some like quick snacks?
No, we just did yesterday like a really good trail mix with my kids with like sugar free. So we used Lakanto sugar free chocolate chips because they're made with monk fruit. And then coconut and some almonds and walnuts. And that is really great because there's so many healthy fats, which are the building blocks for your hormones. But also it keeps you satiated longer. So when you're having nuts and seeds and, you know, coconut, things like that, you are so much less likely to then need another snack 30 minutes later, which is such a big problem that I see with so many of my clients. It's like, I'm just snacking all day long. It's
Me
like,
too. I'm a grazer.
yeah.
So when you just said that, I'm like, that sounds perfect. Like have a little my office snack drawer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So something like that. I had 2 dates filled with peanut butter on my way down here because today I've just been on the go all day. So typically I like to have a healthy fat, some source of protein and a carb. And I think there's so many trendy diets out there now that are like, let's cut out carbs. Let's cut out.
Let's only eat meat. Let's only eat vegetables.
Uh-huh. And I promise you I've done all of them. As somebody who came from an eating disorder, I've done literally all of them and none of them work. That's why there are 3 main macronutrients because in order to function, like our brain needs at least 150 grams of carbs a day to function properly. But then it's like all these women are low carb and wondering why they have brain fog and no energy.
And why you can't lose weight.
Yes, because your body, your metabolism starts to adapt over time to needing less carbs and needing less carbs and needing less calories and needing less calories. And so your thyroid function starts to slow down, which is exactly what happened with me and why I started to need medication because you're you're basically tricking your body into thinking that it needs less. And so it adapts to that. Your body's really smart. It's like, oh, if we're going to go into famine here, we need to adapt to needing less food. But what you don't realize in the moment is that you're actually slowing your metabolism down every single time.
Which means you're burning less calories.
Exactly.
I mean, if you use any sort of fitness tracker, like that's what I could see too. It's like the more calories I consumed, the more my body was able to
Right.
burn the calories faster. versus like if I restricted myself to 1,500 calories, guess what? I'm burning
That's what you're doing.
1,400 calories a day, no matter what I'm doing. So
Right.
that makes a lot of sense. How do you personally reset when your life gets chaotic? Like, are there any rituals or small habits or secret hacks that you have?
Yeah, that has been my life lately. It's been insanely chaotic and really, really crazy. And I'll share something with you that I've finally had the time to process. But as we really started to ramp up with Raeya, I found out I was pregnant. And
Oh my gosh.
I lost a baby a couple weeks ago. And so and then at the same time, the store, literally the same weekend, the store got broken into.
Oh my God.
And there was and then my nanny came to me and said she was gonna quit. And so it was like literally all the chaos
Oh my God.
within probably 4 days of each other. And I was like, holy shit. If this was to have happened to me even like 3 or 4 years ago, I would have been a mess, like an absolute disaster. But because of the practices that I have put into place now, where it's like, it is non-negotiable for me to move my body every day. And it's just like, I know my mental health is stronger. I know I'm better for my kids, for my family, for everybody. Even if it's just a walk, like I'm doing that. And it's also non-negotiable for me to have some form of meditation. What that looks like lately is 20 minutes of journaling and 10 minutes of meditation. And I will wake up before my kids, no matter what, to make sure that happens because, again, I know that I am a more grounded, stable, emotionally available version of myself when I do that versus, again, like those types of things was like a storm, but because I have those practices in my life and I don't skip them no matter what, even if it's 10 o'clock at night and I'm wrapping up the day, I haven't meditated yet, I'm going to do it because I know the effects and the benefits and what happens if I skip it. It's just not good for me.
First of all, that's a lot to go through. So like, I'm so sorry that that
Okay.
happened. But again, like those routines and rituals that you have put in place, it almost like gives you something to look forward to, right?
Yeah.
And it's the time for yourself. So it's almost like if you're going through something in just a season in life that there's tough things that are happening, which happens to everyone. And that just
Exactly.
also goes to show you that you can meet someone who you think has it all and that they're put together, they have everything. And there's stuff that's going on that's like, they're not personal enough to you to share that information. And people are going through things that it's so important to be kind to people, first of all, because of that fact. And I'm sure to me, it always seems like when I'm going through something that everyone's just like, that I encounter is like terrible.
It's so funny that you say that because I was on another podcast when all of this was happening, probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. And one of the questions that they had asked me was like, what's a really big misconception about like you and your family? I was like, that we never like have to go through anything that's like challenging or hard. We wrap the podcast and the producer like pulls me aside and he's like, no one's going to believe that. That's like so not true. And I was like, bro, if you knew
I'd be like,
the
I'm
week
gonna-
I had, I'm going to smack you.
turn on my heel and like leave because what's going to happen if I stay staring at you is not going to be great.
Yeah. And so I think you're so right. It's like, you never know what's
But
going on.
It's almost like, and I think that when that happens, it's the universe being like, what are you going to do now? Like,
100%.
and it's just everything's an opportunity for growth. And I know that that sounds really woo woo, but it's like,
So true.
I mean, that's a crazy amount of stress to go through. I mean, especially if you're building a brand new building, essentially. There was nothing in there before. You're building everything from the ground up. You're
Yep.
going through, losing a pregnancy is something else. And then having someone, I mean, I know that a lot of nannies are like members of the family.
Totally.
And what are you going to do for childcare? It's like, I mean, I don't have children, but I know that I'd be very specific about who watches them and not to like make you go through this trauma all over
No.
again by like breaking it down that granularly. But it is just so important for people to be kind. And then
Yes.
back to your routines, what would you say to someone that says, I don't have time?
I used to say that all the time. I think that like, even knowing you, like you're a business owner, you have a very full life. Anyone could say that. We all have the opportunity to say that we don't have time. I have 3 kids. I have a family who is super close to me here. I have a business that I'm starting. Like we could all say that we don't have time, but it's just about what are you making a priority in your life. Most people who I know, who I've coached over the years, who have said that to me, we take a really, again, a granular look at what are you doing day to day? How much time are you spending on Instagram? How much time are you spending on Netflix? How much time are you spending gossiping with your friends or other women? And when they take a hard look at that stuff, it's typically more than 30 minutes that it would take to meditate and do a workout.
Yep. That's my workouts are 30 minutes. And that's just, it's because I don't have a lot more time than that.
Totally.
But speaking of that, how much time do you spend on Instagram?
It's a great question. And it used to be literally the biggest argument that my husband and I would have.
I think it's an argument a lot of couples have in general, for sure.
And it was one of those things where I had zero boundaries with it. And so after work, I would be done like writing up client protocols, and then I'd be spending all my time posting all of this stuff and like so much personal stuff that like now I look back and I'm like, ugh, why was I sharing that? And I think it's all a learning lesson. It's again like an real opportunity for growth. Kind of like how that all went down. I made the decision probably like 2 years ago not to share my kids' faces anymore and just like bring it in and make it a lot more private. And then back when I had Wilson a year ago, that was a big turning point for me to where I was like, I'm really only going to share what I want to share. So I had already taken the boys off social media, but I was like, now like even anything personal, it's like, unless I really want to put it on there, I won't. But more importantly, at that point in time, I was also like, what am I doing looking at like what other people are doing with their life all day? Like,
Nailed it.
Like
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is such a waste of my time. And like there is absolutely a time and a place to share things, especially when you're a business owner, because that's what's gonna, again, there are so many people on this platform and it's free to like share what it is you're doing and how you want to help the world. But why do I need to see what this person is eating for breakfast or what they're doing with their kids' school or yada, 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 what outfit they're choosing to wear? Like that, none of that is going to be me authentically living my life if I'm going and taking that and copying that. And so I really hope that people take that away from what I'm saying and say like when I'm sharing something with people, it's never because I want to be like, oh, you have to do it this way because this is going to make your life better. It's like if this resonates with you, take it or leave it. I hope this is helpful. Like I'm here to share, this is my breakfast because it has 30 grams of protein and that's what has helped my hormones, not because it's like I'm trying to sell you a product.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah. And I think people can take what they need from things.
Right.
And at least if you're watching someone else's life for the sheer entertainment value, which like I think everyone's a little guilty of.
Totally.
At least do like a check.
Time. And that's the thing too, and I'm sure you feel this way, especially having, staff that you're managing, and like me being a business owner by myself was totally different than what I'm doing now. I literally don't have the time.
That's
Like,
right.
I don't.
Well, I mean, it's part of our job to stay on trends, right?
Right.
But sometimes like the girls will say something and I'm like, how did you have time to like, well, how do you know all of these things?
Yeah.
Like they're like instantaneous. It's like, oh, this person passed away or this person. I'm like, what do you have like stuff popping up and they just stay on X?
Yeah.
Like that's literally like what, I mean, everyone kind of has their, social media app that they really gravitate toward. But that's how I feel. Or I'm just like, how do you have time? And I'm like, oh, right. Because you're not like the EP department. You're not like the janitor. Like,
All of this.
I'm like, that's me. I'm like running around. I'm just never still, unless I'm obviously responding to clients or something. But speaking of just not having time for things, I feel like your morning routine has got to be like legendary. What is, because if you're I am too. I'm a very ritualistic person. Everything that I do is like, there's a purpose behind everything. Since taking stock, which is kind of what we talked about. I feel like most people who are like this, and you develop these routines and rituals, are because there was a time in your life when you didn't have boundaries in place, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
So what does your morning routine look like?
Yeah. I think that one thing just to note before I go into that is that looking back, I think a lot of how it's changed and why it's changed and like why I had so much more time in my early 20s is because there's seasons of life, right? And so it's like, some of these young girls who work for you, who don't have kids and aren't running a business, like it's like they do have a lot more time to be on social media. And like that's not something to necessarily be ashamed of, but it's just something to like check in with yourself about and say, like, how does this making me feel? And it could be making you feel great. So it's just like zero judgment there. But as my life got fuller, it is what required me to put more boundaries into place to say, like, okay, do I want to spend time with my kids or do I want to be on Instagram? okay, I want to spend time with my kids. Like that should have been a no-brainer, but it is something that becomes so addictive that you're like, wait, did I just waste an hour of my time doing that? Like, whoa. So to go back to your question with my morning routine, I used to wake up and like scroll, but now I wake up at 5. I get out of bed. I go upstairs. I have a little meditation like corner kind of by my office, and I sit there and I journal for 20 minutes before I ever look at my phone.
Are you journaling like about the day before or kind of what you're going to do to make the day ahead, or what kinds of things are you journaling?
That's a really important piece of it. I used to think like I'm gonna gratitude journal, like that's like, and that never stuck. It never resonated. But I found this practice. Her name is Nicole Sachs. She wrote this book called Mind Your Body. Because I was just kind of like having some weird, like pesky symptoms, like things that were annoying me. Nothing that was like super serious, but I had like this for like the last, I don't know, 3 months in the summer. I had this like weird ear pressure. So I read this book. It's all about like, you're not journaling about gratitude or like manifesting. You're journaling about like what is annoying the shit out of you and like how somebody really frustrated you yesterday, or like, because we tend to keep those things so bottled up that her theory is that it starts to create physical symptoms in the body, whether that's back pain or something more serious like endometriosis or whatever the case may be for you. And once you start to get more in touch with those feelings and those repressed emotions, you can start to kind of let the steam out and have more space for your body to heal. And what do you know, the ear pressure's gone. But I do this practice every morning where it's 20 minutes of just like writing all the things like that I'm frustrated, sad, angry, whatever. If I feel any of those things, some days I have nothing to really complain about. But then it's 10 minutes after that of self-compassion meditation. And so it's a 30-minute practice. It's a big commitment. If you don't have that much time,
Mm-hmm.
start with 5 minutes. You know, you can always start somewhere. Do you have a question before I moved on?
Well, speaking of the self-compassion practice,
Yeah.
are there like phrases that you repeat to yourself that you find are important, or does it change every day? Because I feel like that's important for especially a lot of women. There's a lot of pressure from society mainly, and
Yeah.
so what are there like phrases or some sort of like motivational quotes that you have?
It's like so silly, but I just go to Spotify and like 10-minute self-compassion meditation. I found this one called she's called Mindful Moments. I really like her voice. She's super calming. I can't listen to myself. I have like hundreds of meditations on my app, but I just can't listen to myself. That's just like too weird. So I really like this girl. Her voice is really relaxing and she has a ton of self-compassion meditations. But the point of that is really to, again, like let those feelings out, but then not judge yourself for feeling them. So it's like, I am so irritated with my husband. He's annoying me. My kids are annoying me. I hate that everybody needs me all the time. And then it's like, wait, like normally I would be like, God, I'm a bad mom and a bad wife and all the things if I'm saying that stuff. But it's like, no, like I'm allowed to feel a certain way.
And they're totally normal emotions to have. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't make you a bad person for feeling that way. You got to have time for yourself.
Yeah. But like you said, it's like we're taught by society that like as women, we're supposed to look a certain way. We're supposed to be able to be super woman and do all the things. And if we're not, then we're falling short. And so it's like if I can write out the frustrations, but then have compassion for myself that like it's okay to feel that way, then again, it makes the nervous system just a safer place to be in your body.
That's right. And
Yeah.
a lot of people don't feel that way. And then it materializes with like actual illnesses, like you said.
Right.
And so, one other thing I want to go back to before we get into the rest of your morning routine
Yeah.
is I feel like because you know a lot about this because of I can tell if you spend that much time every morning, but mind body connection. I feel
Mm.
like that's a phrase that's thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
But what does that actually mean to you?
I think that that's great. Again, as somebody who spent the better part of a decade with an eating disorder, I had zero mind body connection. It was like, what can I do to be skinny? And that's it. And it's like, I lost all connection with like my hunger cues and like what my body, like my cycle going away. It's like, what is my body is trying to tell me something with all of these symptoms. And I think because of that, and then like through my meditation practice, I have become so hyper aware of my body that I'm like, oh, this is off. Like my digestion's off today. Like I probably didn't eat enough vegetables or like whatever the case may be. And so it's like when we think about mind body connection, it's really this kind of back and forth conversation where one is always impacting the other. And there's always an opportunity to listen and tune in and respond accordingly versus I think the initial response with modern society is to just override what a lot of those cues are telling you. I'm hungry. I'm just going to have a coffee because I don't want to eat food. I'm stressed out. I'm just going to have alcohol because I don't want to feel stressed out right now. I'm, whatever the thing is we're feeling, we try to like push those things aside rather than checking in and trying to create awareness around the why behind it.
So back to the after your meditation's
Yeah.
done, what time are we at right now? Because it's like, if you
5:30.
Yeah, 5:30. Okay, that's early. But are your kids up at that time, or that's
God,
your you
no.
time?
Thank God. And a lot of people, again, I know there's a lot of different feelings about this. I sleep trained my kids because I'm like, I need 8 hours and I cannot have you 3 humans in my bed, like kicking me in the face. I got to function the next day.
I was just telling my boyfriend about this because we were having the kid conversation.
Love that.
And I said, I have a friend who's a radio DJ. He was here in Vegas. Now he's in Austin. And he said he did it for all of his kids. And he said it was the best because he's got to be up at 3 for work. So explain what that is.
So sleep training is when the baby is old enough to have regulated blood sugar, which is typically somewhere between 4 and 6 months. They don't need to eat in the middle of the night to have a feeding. They can basically make it, because their blood sugar is able to be regulated all the way for, 10 hours is usually, 8 to 10 hours is usually where you start. You let them cry it out. And again, with my first son, was something that we didn't really have to do. But then my second was an absolute nightmare. He like just would not sleep. And so we got to a point where I was actually pregnant with the third, and he was still not sleeping through the night. And I was like, I'm done. Like, we're not doing this. I had like a blow up mattress in his room. So I finally took a course on sleep training and we did it. He was sleep trained in 4 nights. And he is actually now my best sleeper out of all 3 of them. We put him in his room at 8, and it's a weekend and he doesn't have to go to school, he sleeps the next morning till 8. It's a beautiful thing.
I don't have children, but like that's the one thing that usually terrifies most women from having kids because most of us work now. Like that wasn't like, we didn't really grow up with that as an example. For a lot of people, like the mom stayed at home and was the caretaker. So it's like the sleep becomes that much more important.
Yeah.
So, okay. So we're at 5:30.
Yeah.
You've done your meditation.
I've done my meditation. I will go downstairs. I'll do my skincare, brush my teeth, get changed because I have to go do drop off. And then I go to the kitchen. And I think this part is really important because I think so many kids, it kind of goes back to one of your earlier questions, like how did having kids change your wellness? I think that like breakfast was kind of one of those questionable things for me before I had kids. And now it's like a non-negotiable because 1, it sets the tone for your metabolism for the entire day and your cravings. But 2, for the sake of them, like I have 2 kids in school now, and their focus and attention span and ability to absorb information is highly dependent on what they're being fed and if they're being fed first thing in the morning. And so I make them a breakfast every morning, in either a smoothie or some scrambled eggs with fruit or something that is, again, like real whole food where they're getting all the nutrients that they need and they're keeping their blood sugar stable because it's just as important for them as it is for me. So now we're at about 6:30. I get them up. I get them dressed. I get them in the car and we go to school. I drop them off around 8 and then I go do a workout. And so that changes every day. Today I played tennis. Some days I'll go to the gym. Some days I'll do Pilates or yoga at home. But I've gotten a lot more flexible with that than I was in my 20s. It was like, I'm going to do berries and like it's got to be an hour or it doesn't count. And it's like, oh God.
And what that does to your, speaking of your nervous system, one of the issues that I was having where it was like January this past year, 2025, and I was in the gym and I just had this mental breakdown with my coach, my strength training coach. And I'm like, I'm just spending all of this time working out and busting my ass and I'm gaining weight and I don't know what's happening. And he was the first person to look at me and he's like, your job is stressful. So you're stressed out the whole day. And then you come in here and you stress your body out. And then you're doing that day after day. Like you have to start mixing it up with different workouts. Like to see me less. It was like literally his prescription and it worked. Like I've started to incorporate more yoga and isometrics and just like slower movements that aren't like back squatting 400 pounds and like, having these they're attainable goals, but just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it all the time.
100%. And I think
So,
that so many of us struggle with that all or nothing mindset as women, especially type A women. And I think it is so refreshing and relieving. I remember that feeling of like when I figured that out, where it's like, I could do less and like lose weight. What? Like
isn't that
that's
great?
the
And
secret.
people don't believe it.
They
They're
don't
like,
believe
that
it.
I have to keep moving. I have to do these high intensity training, these crazy interval
And that's
sessions.
why you're not losing weight.
That's exactly right. And also just giving yourself a chance to rest. Like I was like, team no days off. And like, like I was bragging about that. And especially like running off limited sleep I'll never forget. I was on a client trip in Oaxaca. I hope this guy listens to this because this is like, it was this moment for me where I was like, what? We're all at this dinner and I said something about needing 7 hours of sleep. And he just starts like maniacally laughing, like to the point where it was embarrassing. And he's like, 7 hours of sleep. He's like, my God, like how much time on your hands do you have? Like, I don't remember the last time I got 7 hours of sleep. And he was like bragging about not sleeping, and I was like, I wonder if how that guy's doing actually.
Yeah, not great. There's like only like a really, really small percentage of people in the world that can actually do that. Otherwise, it's really, really unhealthy for you. Especially like you'll notice there's so much research out there right now, which is really, really great because then people feel like there's like, a proven point rather than just being told something and they feel like, oh, that's not true. Like there's no way I could work out less. But like when you don't sleep for 3 nights in a row, so that's like not that many nights, it actually significantly raises your blood sugar and raises your insulin, meaning you are going to have more cravings. You're going to eat more sugar. You're probably more likely to, if this keeps going on continually over the course of like a couple weeks, you're going to gain weight. Like all of that stuff is scientifically proven at this point. And so it's like, let's all sleep.
Yeah, like yes, the science is there, but also like I don't know if you've ever like I've done this a few times, not by choice, but even saying like I'm a bad sleeper, you're kind of like reinforcing. It's like you're telling yourself that you're. So I literally, because I was not great at sleeping, and so I had to tell myself like I'm tired. I love sleeping. I can't wait to go to sleep. Like I had to amp myself up just to go to sleep. I think sleep is the most important medicine. Consecutive nights with getting even like 4 or 5 hours of sleep, you literally feel out of your mind. Like there was a point when that happened and it was something catastrophic had happened in my life and it was impacting my sleep. But I was like talking on a client call and I was like, do I even make sense right now? Like I literally paused and said that out loud. I was like, I am so sorry. Like I don't even know if I need to sleep.
No, 100%.
So it's like the science is there, but also your body's going to tell you.
Totally.
I want to switch a little bit.
Yeah.
So you grew up in the Fertitta family.
Yeah.
Which, there's people that listen that are out of market also. But for Vegas specifically, that's like Vegas royalty.
No, thank you.
And so what was it like growing up in that environment?
I gotta thank my parents. I had a really normal childhood. They were great parents. We were raised Catholic. We would go to church every single weekend, which looking back now, my husband and I are like, we didn't have our kids baptized or anything like that because we're like, we don't believe in that. But now we're having a secondary conversation where we're like, maybe it's not Catholic, but like something where there's a family values and like there is like expectations and community for our own kids. And so I don't know what that looks like yet, but I think that was actually a really valuable part of my childhood. I was born here and we really like spent so much time growing up in my dad's hotels. And so that would look like my mom picking us up from school. We went to go home and do our homework or activities. And then we would go meet my dad for dinner at one of the casinos, which probably sounds like weird, really weird for some people, but was like not a at home, like sit down situation where my mom was like cooking a pot roast. It was like we were out at like the Fisherman's Broiler on a Tuesday night.
But kids adapt, especially if you don't know any different. I was just talking to my boyfriend about that too, because my dad, he almost went to the Olympics for bowling. So I grew up in a bowling alley.
Love
and it was cool. Like he'd come get me from the child care center and he'd have a trophy. And I just have these like vivid memories that like, it's just a little bit different.
It's totally different, but that's exactly what shaped me into who I am today. And it was a really cool, interesting would
Do you
grow.
mean like the unconventionalism of like being in casinos or, having your dad that was like a business mogul, like all of those things?
Yeah, I think that having my dad be someone who, is like a super successful entrepreneur, I think that that was something I always looked up to and was like, yeah, I can do it. And I think that to be super transparent, like, I think his, what he saw for all of us was like, yeah, I want all my kids to like come back and work for me. And like, we're going to have this. And I came back and started doing marketing for him when I graduated from NYU and really quickly realized like, this is not for me. Like, I love him and what he's created is amazing, but it's like I'm not, marketing slot machines is just like kind of not my jam, and there's no offense in it. I think that it's really incredible what he's built. But what I will say is that kind of circling back to Raeya, when I had this whole concept and idea, because I so value his input and what he thinks and his success. I went to him and I'm like, what do you think of this idea? Like, and he was like, I am so proud of you. And so it's really been a full circle moment to be able to have that support and not have him be like, oh yeah, I'm like upset that he was never like that. It's like, whatever you want to do, even though it's like not in alignment with what I like initially thought our family was going to do, he's super supportive. So that's been really cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
That he's been so supportive. I've got my dad's like that too. First he was like told me that for PR, he's like, you might as well get a degree in basket weaving. He's like, there's not any money in that. And then like I'm like, look at me now. Like
Exactly.
and my building that I own. Haha.
Yeah.
But no, that's how I am too. Like you value someone's input who is successful, and it's even better if it's your dad.
Yeah.
It's because it's like they care about you as a daughter and they care about you as like the business decisions that you're going to make.
Yeah.
What's a lesson that he's taught you that stuck with you?
I think that the biggest lesson that I learned from him and also from my grandpa, who's the one who started station casinos altogether, is humility and like to be humble. I think that um there's so many people that you see out in the world that like have a lot and they're like total assholes. And I just hope that like that is never how I come off to somebody who works for me. Going back to what, we were talking about, like you never know what anyone's going through, but also it's like as somebody who's employing a lot of people, like I want everyone to be like, I can always go to her and like have a conversation and communicate and like feel like a part of a team. Because I think that that's where ultimately it's like, that's the backbone of your business. That's what's going to make you successful. If people feel like you're unapproachable or not open to a conversation, it's like you're going to have so much turnover. And then your guests and your clients and all the people who come into your space feel that. And I do feel like that is something that like I think it's like 16,000 employees at this point for my dad, like he's really been able to accomplish is like this feeling of like wanting to be a part of a team. Like they always say over at stations like that they're a family. And that's I think the biggest lesson I've taken away.
I can actually double down on that because, and this literally just came to me. Like I
Yeah.
really didn't even think about this before the interview, but one of my friends, Jordan Kelley.
Yeah, he's my cousin.
Okay. So
On my mom's side.
So he was telling me that his dad, Kevin Kelley,
Yeah.
that he said that about your dad. He's like, he knows the janitors' names.
Yeah.
That was like, I just remembered that little blip while you were talking. I'm like, dang,
Yeah.
she really, like, that's real.
It's
Like,
real.
he, like, that is humility through and through,
Definitely.
That
Yeah.
you take the time to, like, not just learn the executives' names, but like everyone who's working there because it make them feel valuable and seen,
Totally.
and be approachable. So I can confirm. What were there expectations that were placed on you growing up, and how did you navigate them?
Yeah, I think that there were a lot of expectations, and not just on me and my siblings too. And I think that it came from the best place of like my parents, and like again, no shame or judgment to anyone whose family did it differently, but like their expectation is like you're gonna work and you're gonna have a job and you're going to be a productive member of society and you're not gonna live off of a trust. Like that is not how we're gonna do it around here. And so it was like you're gonna go to college and you're gonna get a degree, and like we were all very much invited to go get an even higher education. So we all went and got an MBA. And then there was not an expectation, but there was my dad did want us to come and work for the family business. And so that was all kind of like laid out for us. And I'm really glad that they did it that way, because I wouldn't want to just, I love working. I love like what that feeling feels like of making a difference and having an impact. And I want the same for my own kids down the line. I really, and Chad too, my husband, we're really trying to inspire that in them. My 5-year-old son just had a lemonade stand, and he like made all this money, and he's like, I'm gonna go buy something Pokemon. I'm like, yes, you are. Like, we're not just gonna buy it for you. So I
That's
mean,
cool. And that's a valuable lesson. Is there any like childhood memories that you have like that?
yeah, we would just like, my sister and I would stand on the corner of our old like cul-de-sac and sell everything from like bracelets to painting, all this stuff. Because my parents were like, yeah, you want to like have it, work for it.
That's so cool.
And we all started working for my dad like as internships and stuff like that when we were like 15. So it was never just like, just do whatever you want and here it is. You gotta work for it.
I mean, that's how I was also.
Yeah.
From the time I was 15, like my mom would drop me off at my job. And it wasn't because like, I needed to like work to make money to support the household, but it was for that lesson. Like, this is how the real world works. And the faster that you can get started learning that, and then to like kind of earn your keep if you want something, then the faster it's going to, and that's really how my life has panned out. And I feel like I owe that to my parents also. So that's nice that that's the same way that you were raised.
It's really great, and I think it's a really fine line to walk, because there is a lot of, and I'm not sure, but I wonder actually if you feel this way, because it also breeds that like type A, kind of
100%.
perfectionist mentality, and so that's something that like in my adult life I've had to work on, and so
What do you mean? Because like I know what you mean, but like explain what you mean.
yeah, it's just like being more gentle with myself and being softer with myself, and not like it, having to do things the exact same way, or like what we're talking about before we even got on the mic, like being a control freak and like micromanaging things. Like that was for the longest time why I didn't want to open Raeya, because I was like, well, if I can't do it myself and I can't like control exactly what's happening with the social media or what they're doing in a treatment room or whatever, like then I don't want to do it, or like how they're coaching this person. And I still feel that even right now we're in training, and I'm like, oh my God, like I need to let go
Yes.
a little bit.
And it's how like once you see that it can work and you can trust other people,
100%.
you're like, why was I trying to do this all myself anyway?
Yeah.
But I have a good one, and it's my parents and mostly my mom would not let me go do anything like in junior high or high school until all the chores were done in the house. So like, for instance, to this day, I can't leave to like go on vacation unless everything's perfect in
clean.
the house. And my boyfriend's like, what are you like, in case the burglar comes in, like the house is going to be clean for him. Like, what do you like, why can't, and I'm like, it's ingrained. And so learning how to undo some of that,
Totally.
and it's not all bad, but like you said, just not beating yourself up for either being that way or for feeling like you're responsible for all this stuff in order to like go enjoy yourself. It's like, that's not real life.
No, it's definitely not. But I can see it too. Like another example is like we were expected to have straight A's. Like that was the expectation. And so it's like I see my poor son. He came home like 2 weeks ago. He's 5, and he's like, I got -1 on my math test. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm putting way too much pressure on
Oh,
boy.
man.
I'm so sorry. So we've like stuffed it back. We walked it back.
Part of me also thinks that that's like, I always think about like, for instance, the Whoop strap. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah.
How it's like red recovery, green recovery, yellow, and it's like almost like you beat yourself up
Totally.
based on. So I'm actually going to switch to the Aura Ring because of that. But I was thinking about like how teachers use like a red
Yeah.
marker. If you get like a -1, it's kind of damaging.
It's totally damaging. I ended up actually, and I'm like the biggest health, and like I love the data, but for a while there, again, like during a really stressful time in my life, like I was like, okay, yeah, I know that my recovery is shit, and like my heart rate is higher, and like this is not helpful. So I took it off. And it's like you have to, I think that's the thing. It's like the awareness around like, okay, when is it helpful versus when is it like creating more stress and pressure in your
I'm
life?
getting to that point. I just looked at my recoveries. I've worn my Whoop strap every day for 5 years
Yeah.
and 2 months. And I'm like, I'm just going to remove this, like at least
Yeah.
before I get the Aura Ring too, which I like that it doesn't give you that kind of like grade. But I just need a break and I need to prove to myself that I could not rely on data. Like
Yes.
I can, speaking of mind body connection,
Totally.
like when you wake up, you're like,
Yes.
well, I ate
didn't
like
s-
shit yesterday and I had a cocktail at a work event and it impacted my sleep. And I know that I don't feel 100%, you know,
100%.
and it's just real life. Like you can't wake up every single day feeling like, you know, you can take on the world, even though that would be nice. What's something that people would be surprised to learn about you?
That's a really good question.
You're like, I mean, honestly,
Oh, I
I
feel
think
like
you do share a lot, but what's
I
something that
do.
you're like, maybe there's like a misconception about you?
I feel like I'm a really open book. I was like almost like way too open of a book to where I was like, I had an eating disorder and I am like, I overexercised and I was really stressed and I've shared so much about my fertility journey. I guess one thing that people would be kind of surprised by is that I am a very emotional and like sensitive person. And it's probably the Pisces in me, but I don't think I come off that way. Like when people have told me, like in the past, how I come off, I have been told that I'm like a little intimidating and I seem super confident. And I think that I am a confident person, but I can cry at the drop of a hat. Like I will cry at a book or a movie or like looking at one of my kids peacefully sleeping in their beds. Like all those things make me
100%. Yes.
Um,
We're much more in common than I'm like learning so much right now. And I'm
yeah.
literally in my head, I'm like, oh my God, me too. And I've always wondered that, like when I hear the word intimidating, I'm like, well, why is that? Like,
Why?
I don't feel that
Scary.
way. But then, and even like this goes back to my get me through college job. Cause again, I had to work. Like
Hmm.
my parents did not pay for anything. I mean, they paid for my education, but if I wanted to not live at home, I needed to pay for everything myself.
Hmm.
So I had this like my second write up from because a customer like complained that I was like, you know, being snotty or bitchy or whatever. And so I had my boss at Mac Cosmetics pulled me to the side and he was like, I'm gonna level with you. And speaking of like, he was blaming it on us being Tauruses. He's like, I have been told all the time that like I'm just not very animated on my face. And he's like, sometimes you have to over smile to the point where it feels uncomfortable in customer service. Like, don't be phony.
Mm.
But like sometimes because you're not aware of how you come across to people, you have to like be more warm and welcoming than you
Yeah.
normally would, or say one extra sentence or whatever it is. And honestly, that really stuck with me. And
It's good feedback.
it is good feedback, and it was really helpful, and I never got right up again. Uh, but I just think in terms of like, I almost wonder if it's the business owner component. And I think this
Yeah.
like long form conversations like this are helpful because it helps people to understand that there are things that you and I go through that like it's not this outwardly like packaged everything with like a nice bow on it. It's like there's real life stuff
Yeah.
that happens in our everyday lives. And I think, you know, learning how to, you know, be more approachable and sometimes learning that like the way other people perceive you isn't necessarily your problem.
That too.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's not like I don't feel sometimes like I am intimidating. I'm like, maybe you are intimidated, and maybe that's
Part of your
part of it,
yeah.
you know?
I think that it goes totally goes both ways. And I think that a lot of it is learned behavior. For example, like growing up, I have a sister who is sweet as pie. She is like the most gentle, soft, like person you will ever meet. And so whenever we were together, which was all the time growing up, we were compared and it was like Kelly's the scary one and like she's going to tell you how it is and Victoria's the sweet one. And so it's like you kind of get categorized like that.
Mhm.
But then also again there's like people's perception of like what they have learned growing up or what they categorize as something that would be intimidating. And so I think it's totally both things.
That's interesting too. I don't have a sister,
Mm-hmm.
but like that is interesting. Having a sister who just has a different sort of personality,
Mhm.
and then you can literally see that dichotomy.
Yes.
And so I'm like, maybe it is us. Like, I mean, I just think that everyone's kind of different, but I'm also the same where I'm very emotional. And that was one of the questions my friend Brad, the one that I was mentioning earlier, is in radio. He interviewed me and he was like, "Do you cry ever?" And I'm like, it almost like made me cry because he asked it.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yes.
of course I do. Like, and it's the same. If I watch a commercial, what was that show that I just watched, The Summer I Turned Pretty?
Yeah, yeah.
Have you watched that?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was sobbing like
And
the
it's so
whole
funny.
last episode.
It's like at the cheesiest things, the drop of a hat, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
me too.
I mean, that's a good one though.
Yeah.
And it's good for people to know that even people that might come across as intimidating also, have their moments when
Not
they're,
so much.
yeah, they're softer,
Yes.
Okay, let's talk, Raeya.
Let's talk about it.
I think we went into like what inspired you to kind of create this sanctuary for women in
Mm.
particular. But walk us through like a day at Raeya. What do you see happening from like the treatments to the rituals? Like let's hear like the overall story about Raeya.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really special place. I know it is. I've been there, like I said, in training for the last few weeks and actually seen the team have these hands-on experiences, and it's going to be really, really incredible. But I think that when you think about like what's possible or what you could do while you're there, you open the door and over to the left we have our consultation room, and that's really where we will go through lab work with clients. All of the consultations will be 1 hour, and so we're going to really walk you through and deep dive into what's exactly going on in your body right now and why you're feeling things that you're feeling and how to have sustainable results. We're going to be offering prescriptions, whether that's bioidentical hormones or peptides, or you can come and have an IV with us through our nurse practitioner, which is something that I always thought would be a wonderful add-on because I don't have the ability to prescribe. Like I can tell you what to do with your diet all day long, but some people really do need a little extra progesterone or, this peptide to like make a difference now. So they have the incentive and momentum to make the lifestyle changes long term. I really do believe in having both of those things. And so that's the area where you'll get all of that information or have the capacity for someone to write you a prescription if it's needed and warranted.
And then I really like what you just said because the goal would be to wean you off eventually,
Yeah.
right?
Depending on what it is and what it's used for the most part, generally speaking, the goal would be to have you not on a medication long term.
Right.
Who wants that? You know what I mean? Who wants to be dependent on something that they don't need? But like a caveat to that might be a woman who is in menopause. She doesn't want to feel like hot flashes or her skin is super dry or she, has this inability to lose these last few pounds. Maybe we do put her on a low dose of estradiol and progesterone and a little bit of testosterone long term so that she feels really good and really energized and super focused and like she still has sex drive and all the things that women want to have.
Yeah.
And there's so much research now that it actually also improves longevity and reduces cancer risk. So there's a lot that gets played into that. But yes, for the most part, taking women off her prescriptions, but just having it to give you that, incentive to get going. If you're hypothyroid and you have super low thyroid numbers and your energy is in the trash, taking a little thyroid medication is going to feel good so that you can change your diet, start working out again, all of the things that you need energy for to be able to like actually change those things in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Then behind the reception desk, we have a fitness center where we're going to offer strength training classes, yoga classes, Pilates classes, Reiki circles, meditations, journaling. And we'll also have guest speakers come in for our members to talk about things like hormones or sleep or whatever it is that they're the expert in their field about. So lots that can happen in that kind of multi-purpose fitness room. We have a lot of recovery devices. So things like PEMF mat, red light therapy. We have a Hocket, which is oxygen therapy, sauna, PEMF, all of these different things in one. So self-guided recovery all throughout, which you can do as add-on services as well, which is something I really like. Again, we're talking about efficiency from the beginning. It's like, can I get a face mask and reflexology while I lay on this PEMF mat? Like, give me all the things like that are going to make me feel good.
That's how I am. I'm like a habit stacker. I'm a multitasker.
Yes.
I'm like, I want to do all of these things at one time to really maximize while I'm laying on this mat.
100%. That is exactly how I am too. It's like, I have 30 minutes. How can I maximize this time? We have a lounge in the middle of the space where if you're waiting for your treatment, you can also have a bite to eat. We're going to be serving organic, real whole food salads, chia puddings, matcha lattes, those types of things. Because if you're spending a whole day with us, we want to keep you nourished and fed.
Which is, by the way, so important. Like, even if I'm just like flashing to where I'm thinking about, I mean, and you can't compare Raeya to a med spa, but even if I'm somewhere getting a treatment and remembered like Uber Eating something because I was spending so much time there, I'm like, that's really, and I had to like ask permission. I was like, do you guys mind if I like send myself some food? I'm like, I've been here for like 5 hours,
Yes.
you know? So that's, you guys thought of everything.
Yeah. Thank you. I think that that part is going to be really, really great because then again, people can really spend the whole day with us if they want to. We have an IV lounge over to the left where, again, our nurse practitioner will be working with clients, creating custom cocktails that are for them, for their lab work based on what they need. Sauna, cold plunge, and then we have 5 treatment rooms in the back where we're going to be doing everything from facials to acupuncture to colonics, deep tissue massage, lymphatic massage. So we have so many different offerings that once you do look at your lab work and you can take in like, okay, here's my baseline and here's where I'm at. These are the things we'll have someone recommending to you, but also you can use your credits however you want. You don't have to get 2 facials a month. You could get a colonic and a massage or an IV and a couple recovery services. It's however you want to spend those credits based on what it is you think you need and what our team is telling you based off your labs you need.
Which is so cool because you're not locked into one thing. Like there's some things that Raeya is offering that I can't wait to try out myself because where I'm like, I don't want to, it's almost like I don't want to subscribe to a place that or get a membership at a place that's just like a cold plunge place. And there's a
Exactly.
and I'm like, what if I don't like it? Like I have to try it before I do it. And even like colonics, like I've had people that are like, it's totally fine. I do them all the time. And I'm like, you know,
Right. It's like, how do I know? And I also want the capacity to like, if I want a facial this month and I want a massage next month, that's what I'm going to do for my self-care to be able to switch things around.
Yeah. I'm so excited for it. I know you are too. And so remind everyone when it's launching.
So Raeya will be open on November 12th, which is a Wednesday. But we're going to be having a really great grand opening party that you're going to help us with and put together in January.
I mean, everyone's already posting about it, right? So I'm like very excited. But onto the same kind of wellness, where do you see Raeya going into the future? Do you see like more locations, more offerings? I know it hasn't even like officially opened yet, but I'm sure that's things that you're thinking about.
Things that I'm thinking about for sure. We would love to have another location or another couple locations in town. I don't really think I ever wanted to leave Vegas. And that comes back to me being a control freak. I'm like, it's in Scottsdale or LA, like, I don't know how long term these people are servicing my members and making them feel and what the status of the service that they are getting is. And I really do want to have a handle on that because that's what makes people want to come back. So
I think that's an important message. On that same vein, how did you decide which wellness modalities and practitioners that you wanted to include in Raeya?
yeah, the modalities was actually pretty easy. When I started working with Megan Linney, who you know, who is my founding director, I basically laid it all out for her and said, hey, this is the stuff that has worked for me, that I really enjoy and I really love. And over the last 10 years, I have incorporated into my life in some way or another that I have found made a difference. Let's put this at Raeya. And she's like, we will make it happen. And she's been so incredibly helpful and operationally necessary in that piece of it. And then the practitioners, that was really a long process. We interviewed people for 6+ weeks to find the right people to fit this space, to make sure that we were hiring practitioners who were experts in their field and at what they were doing, but also who were really open to being a part of a team and wanting to work together. Because again, when it comes back to the client or the member, everyone's got to know a little bit about you and your health history and what you're going through in order to make this a holistic solution for your health.
What do you think would be like for women who are just starting their wellness journey? What's like a first step that you would recommend to someone?
Yeah, I think like, you mean in terms of Raeya or just
I think both.
general?
Like let's do in general and then also at Raeya.
I think generally, if you are just starting to get in touch with your health and I think that a lot of people would say something different like, oh yeah, like, look at your food or look at your workouts. But for me, it's look at your mind and what's a priority to you. And that, again, that comes back to like really living in alignment. And so if you don't yet have some sort of self-reflection practice in your life, start there. Because I can tell you all day to eat more protein and fiber and all of these different things, but maybe that doesn't fit with your lifestyle or your values. And so it's really about getting clear on what your priorities are, how you want to feel, and then taking aligned action from that place versus feeling really chaotic in your body because all these different influencers are telling you to do all these different things and you have no idea where to start because it all feels way too overwhelming. Get in touch with yourself first.
That's really, really good advice.
you.
I'm like, I really want to end it there, but I have more questions because that's like a mic drop to me. To round out Raeya questions, what is like a legacy that you hope Raeya leaves behind?
I really just hope that it is, because I feel like Vegas is kind of missing this conscious healthcare
Mm-hmm.
that I want to create. And so if Raeya leaves behind anything, it's that it's kind of created this community and this awareness in Vegas that we need to be more focused on our health and our well-being, and that this is a safe space to come and do it.
What is your favorite wellness trend right now, and one that you think is totally overhyped?
Probably the red light bed. I'm really into the red light bed right now, and I also think it's overhyped. At the same time, and I think you're probably asking me for like two things.
No, I like that it's one.
It's super trendy. You hear everyone talking about it, phototherapy, da da da. But also it's like, if we don't have the foundations of real food and you're not moving your body, it's like the red light bed's not going to fix anything if you don't have the foundations in place. And so I do love it, but I also think there's no quick fix. There is no, like, if you are not doing the things at home on a day-to-day basis that are foundational, no supplement, no red light, no colonic is going to make you feel better.
What do you think the foundational things are?
Movement, sleep, hydration, real whole food, and self-reflection.
Do you have any water hacks? Like, it is so hard for me to drink water, and I know I feel a difference when I do
You're
drink.
hydrated.
Yes, I'm like, oh my God, I feel like a different human, but like,
Yeah.
so boring.
It's super boring. And that is why, for me, I like, one, I fill it up first thing in the morning. So I have that like 40 ounce or whatever Stanley cup that I fill up twice a day, but I flavor it. And so I'll put lemon juice and ginger and a few drops of monk fruit, and it kind of tastes like lemonade. And I'm like, okay.
So you can just buy like monk fruit drops.
Like the drops.
Okay.
Yeah. So I
I'm
put
like,
like
this is good. What is that?
5 drops into like 40 ounces and some lemon juice, ginger and turmeric. And I'm like, okay, this tastes like yummy actually.
Okay. I feel like I can handle with just like the monk fruit and the lemon.
Yeah.
Let's just
You don't
see what that
go
does.
into the ginger and turmeric.
If this is a fun one, I'm going into like some other kind of rapid fire a little bit, even though they might take some time to think about. If you could host any 3 women, dead or alive, at Raeya for a day of self-care, who would you invite?
So the first one for sure would be my mother, without question. She's just like given me so much, and anything I can do to make her feel cared for and special, I would love that. So my mom, I have this doctor who got me into the research part of hormones and really tied it together to me, that whole mind body connection thing. She's like, yeah, like if you're not, she talked about how her name's Sarah Gottfried, just to say that part, but she was the first person who I ever heard connect the dots between stress and like her doing her residency and gaining all this weight and her hair falling out and like all the things that we've talked about, and that connecting with like how she was feeling in her body. And I'm like, oh, and like putting the research back to behind it. So Sarah Gottfried is probably the second one.
That's a fun like full circle.
Yeah.
You're like, look,
I would
look
love
what you did
to meet
like
her someday.
Yeah.
She's awesome. I don't know the third one.
What about like a celebrity?
A celebrity?
Yeah.
Maybe Gwyneth Paltrow. She's so wellnessy and like goop and all the things.
Like she would appreciate what you're doing.
I
in
think
Vegas.
so. Yeah.
When it comes to your own Raeya ritual, what's your go-to combination of treatments or practices?
So I think that if I was going to Raeya for the day, I would come in I would sit down and have a matcha and some like one of either like the overnight oats or the chia pudding. And then I would go to a fitness class, probably a strength training class. I'm really into that right now. Then I would get a lymphatic massage because the combo that we're doing there is really cool. We put you in the sauna with a castor oil pack first, and then I did this treatment yesterday. And
I
then
saw it on your
Yes.
I was like, that is crazy. I mean, I love a good lymphatic drainage massage, but like just because too you already have the muscular build and abs,
thanks.
it was like you could just tell that everything got flushed out, and then all of a sudden your abs are just like popping.
Yeah, it's amazing. Ashley is one of our massage therapists. She's incredible. So I would do that, just like flush everything out, maybe lay in the red light for a little bit. And then our estheticians are doing this amazing like hair growth scalp treatment that I fell in love with the first time I got it. It's like this rosemary scalp serum with peptides.
And they're
It's
like massaging it into your
scalp.
I was like, oh my God, that looks so nice.
Next location, we're gonna have blowouts post. Like we just don't have enough space.
I was literally gonna ask. I'm like, I don't want to, build on because this project is already so huge, and like the fact that you're bringing this to Vegas is huge. But what's like something else that you're excited about, even in like life, personally, like a next chapter? Like, what are you most excited about?
So again, like I'm a pretty positive person. Even though I'm emotional, I'm super positive. I am not going to stop trying for this fourth baby. We're going to have another baby. I'm going to manifest that. That's a really exciting, I think something I'm really excited about. I want to open a second location for Raeya and have it be bigger. We've even considered having that space be co-gender. So men and women, and having more things there. Like it could add on forever to the list of things that we could do. Right now, there's a dry bar right next to us, so you could pop over there.
Just pop in there. The men are gonna get jealous.
I think
I already know it's happening because when I've been talking to journalists about it, specifically John Katz, who's been on this podcast, he was like, "Well, I want in on this action," and I'm like, "You can come to the grand opening."
my friend screenshotted a text from her husband, and he was like, "Do you think she'd sneak me in the back?"
That's what I'm saying. Like, guys want to relax too, but I do
Yeah.
feel like there's something to be said, even if it was like two spaces where one of them was for women only, just because it does make you feel more comfortable. Our
Totally.
bodies are built totally different. Our needs are totally different. And it does make you feel like it's just this like a nice little like space for womanhood and
Just wanna be
relaxation.
alone
That's
sometimes. Like I just want to be alone.
like I don't even have kids, so I can't imagine. But
Yeah.
like there's just something to be said about like waking up solo sometimes.
God.
It's just like,
But I would give for like one, again, and but then it's like it's so funny when you do have them, you're like, but then you wake up alone, you like have your matcha, you do a little journaling, and you're like, but I want to get back to them. I miss them. It's like this weird, God, it's such a weird like push pull. But yes, I feel like that was for me the biggest piece was if I was with Chad, would I be able to fully relax? And like, I love him so much, but I'd be worried about him. Be like, how's he doing? When does he want to leave? Like, what are we gonna do next? And like, no, I can just fully do my thing if I'm alone.
I love that. What do you want people to know or take away from what's happening with Raeya? Like, what's the one thing that you hope that people receive from this project?
There's so many, but I think if we boil it down to one thing, that it's that I want the women who come to Raeya to feel like they have the opportunity and a safe space to reclaim their rhythm and to come back to their bodies and to feel at home in their bodies again. This really a safe space where they are heard and seen. I feel like that's something that is so taken away from in so many doctors' offices. It's just like, oh, well, yeah, I heard you, but like that's not valid, or I'm just going to give you this prescription. And it's like, no, we're listening to you. We hear you, and we're going to give you a solution. And if that, for whatever reason doesn't work, we're going to listen to you again, and we're going to figure this out together in a space where you can come, you can relax, you can be yourself. And yeah, it's a kind of a judgment-free zone where you're free to take care of yourself and spend as much time as you need.
I love that.
Thank you.
Where can everybody find you?
Me on Instagram, I'm Wellness by Kelley. So that's Kelley. And then Raeya is Raeya Wellness. And we all have websites for both. So wellnessbykelly.com and RaeyaWellness.com.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I'm going to let you go back to Raeya and get her prepped for her grand debut in November.
Yes.
And thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Megan.